Hey everybody, welcome back. Getting back from a nice long break, had quite a bit going on. New job, bought a house, just moving every which way, and finally got some time back and got in the garage. So I'm currently working on the interior, and this was before we actually started the move and a lot of the new job stuff. But I wanted to get in here and start making some progress because summer's coming to a close here soon. So hopefully I can get it all tightened up and buttoned up. But so far, we're going to be looking at the door. I'm using a wire wheel, getting rid of a bunch of adhesive. I had put a seal on the door while it was sitting around on the farm and make sure that it had as best a seal as it could. So hopefully we keep down on the mice nibbling on things that they're not supposed to be. So using a lot of different abrasives, same old story from when I was doing the exterior. And I actually was shown a different technique that gave me a lot of respect for angle grinders. So that's really cool. So I did the doors in the same way that I normally had, with a lot of my drill with the abrasive paint wheels on it, the 3M wheels, and still using the double up wheels. Getting into a couple different wire wheels and some sandpaper. Usually I was finishing things up with the orbital and getting nice and even. But for the most part, when I'm using the rotating wheel on the drill, I noticed that the finish is pretty good, and generally you can't feel a difference in it. And with the filler primer that I'm using, it makes it just so even nice. And the plan has always been, after everything's been primed and finished, we're going to go over everything and fix up some of the problem areas with some regular thickness primer, and some of that other body fluids that we can put on there to actually get it fixed up. So this process has been pretty slow going with the drill compared to using the angle grinder with 40 pads on it. And I really like taking it down to the bare steel. It's always nice, and getting this cleaned up has just been beautiful. I mean, the finish when we're priming it is just absolutely gorgeous, and I'm hoping that it stays that way when you spray the paint on it, because when you actually have the color, it really shows off where you missed the mark. But yeah, enjoy this for a little bit and we'll get back to you. Alright, getting back into another day after getting the primer on. Switching between the wire wheels and the abrasive wheels. Just cleaning everything out. A lot of it is mostly just for texture. Like the door panels aren't in that bad shape. You can see some of the rust there, but to be completely honest, if you sprayed some rust fix over the top of it, I'm sure you wouldn't have a lot of issues for a long time. But painting white over black rust fix primer isn't exactly what I want to be doing all the time. Another thing I wanted to mention was just that this video is kind of pulling up a long period of time, probably month and a half, 2 months, so some of the details are a little foggy, but a lot of extra content and a little bit of variety in here. We do have the body sections, but also I went through and was working on getting the steering put back together, since we did, in fact, go and get some parts pulled off of another truck from the junkyard. But I felt like it was important to include all that, since it was things that came in to play. You know, it's not all just the bodywork stuff, but I wanted to get it all back up to date so we can keep moving around and keep moving along with this project. But the major thing I wanted to say was that I really, really, really appreciate the help that I have. Of course, I'm usually the only one in here doing the body work, but one of my parents' neighbors, great guy, knows a lot about cars and has helped me out. Even on my daily driver truck, we did some ball joints and brakes and things like that. That would have been a little bit more complex for me to do on my own without some specialized tools and a little bit of an extra know-how. He also happens to have helped me with those specialized tools and knowledge to get the steering column all put together. So the steering box, and then found a steering shaft somewhere that already had the worm gear attached to it that had the entirety of its top. So hopefully we'll be able to put a new cover on that and get back on the road and actually be able to steer the truck. So really just going to town with it. You know, I was trying to do about an hour or two every night or so, trying to get in and do some of this body work. And of course the momentum swung down after starting a new job and buying a house. So here's the steering parts, but really lost a lot of time there, but it was worth it. I mean, we love our new house. Outside of some of the appliances not wanting to work and having to chuck some repair parts into them, it's been a really good transition into owning a house. You know, when you're moving and setting up new storage locations for everything, and mostly just trying to clear out the garage now. So I felt like I had a little bit more time to jump back into the garage. And as you can see, my dad's in the background there. He's actually recovering the seat in my sister's car. So he was working on that, and I was trying not to get too much aerosolized paint in his direction so that it didn't get on the seat. But yeah, these cleaned up pretty well. I mean, of course, they're cast parts, so they've got their little hammered look to them, and that's just the way they are. But we do our best, and I put the seals in, knocked it in, bang, bang, bang. It went in pretty straight. Looks good. And got this all situated. And as you can see, we'll do a little bit of magic. Here we go. So there it is, all put together. It's a Christmas miracle. So now we're moving back into the inside, doing the backside, and here's where the angle grinder came into play. So we had already actually done the roof and a good chunk of the back, as you can see around the window, as primed. So all of that has already been done. It's been treated, any holes we found filled. But I wanted to get all of this popcorning stuff out of the way here. It's just, I don't know, I didn't like the texture of it. And as you go down, it doesn't really stop. So once I got to that midline, right where the red starts, I started thinking, you know what, this is going to be behind the gas tank, and we're going to have the actual colors in there. So you won't be seeing anything. It's going to be covered by the vinyl, cardboard, whatever interior panels are called, and the gas tank's in the back of the cab. So I decided, you know, we're kind of cutting this in pretty deep here, and I think we're gonna do black on the floor anyway. We're gonna do like an undercoating or a rubber coat or something similar like that. So I thought, you know, let's make sure that the visible parts, you know, even where the rain gutter toolbox is going to be, make sure that all is nice and clean so that it can be beautiful white. And then everything else, I just want to make sure there's not going to be a bunch of rust holes, and that anything gets fixed. So as we go on, you're going to see a lot less shiny metal. You're going to see a lot more of the same coatings that originally came on the vehicle, and we're big goal is just getting rid of the rust, getting rid of some of that extra texture if I can. And of course, with this paint coming off, there's just dust everywhere, and it's a mess. I'm vacuuming myself off. My face is always just covered in dust, and as you can tell, we went through and primed, and then now we're getting back into it right at this rail here, and just cleaning it. And you can start to see like some of the spots are just burning. You can't get the right angle in there with the grinder. And then at this point, I'm just trying to get it as clean as possible so that it looks pretty. But as long as there's not big rust spots, we're not doing a lot of targeting there. There was a lot of weird little chunks of, I don't know what it was, like rubberized sealer or something that was just in this crevice that I was trying to get out, and the angle grinder wasn't exactly getting in there, but I went and switched over to a similar style of wheel that I was using for the doors and the outside, and hoping that would get a little bit better clearance, just because it has a larger surface area, you can actually run through it. But a lot of that stayed, unfortunately. There wasn't a great way to really get it out without maybe like a hammer and a chisel, but it turned out okay. Turned out all right. But, we're gonna move forward and just get everything cleaned up, nice and pretty. I want to make sure that the tank seats properly, and the seat when it goes in, that we're not trying to run bolts through holes that aren't there. But I'm mostly taking care of a lot of the problem areas. Wherever I saw like rust spots, I wanted to make sure I could find the edges and make sure that they got cleaned up. So after this, of course, we're covering all of the floor panels, and we're getting it all painted. And I went up the firewall and did that recently. So if you're looking into more of that, feel free to check out my Instagram. We have a lot of more detail there. So if you're interested in anything behind the build, more engine related stuff, and just other things that are going on, feel free to check that out. Again, thanks for watching, and have a great night.